everyone. My name is Carly Hecht. I'm a second-year associate here at North Shore University Hospital.
Good morning. My name is Gianna Chimarco, and I'm a second-year MAP at the Brooklyn region.
Welcome to our 4th episode of Mappy Hour.
Here we go.
Today we have Jeff Kraut to discuss the history and evolution of Northwell Health as an organization. Welcome, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I've been eagerly awaiting to be invited. I've been watching the episodes, and I just can't wait to spend some time with you guys.
So why don't you give maybe a brief introduction about
Sure.
yourself?
So I'm Jeff Kraut. I'm the Executive Vice President for Strategy, and part of my responsibility is to coordinate the different business activities across our enterprise using kind of good data that will drive good decision making. I'm about finishing up my 30th year here at Northwell, so I've had I've had an armchair to a lot of our growth and to see what's happened, and I'll share some of that with you.
You're a for-lifer.
Yeah, well, basically, I don't look at the job openings anymore. But, I'm going to stick here.
Well,
Yeah.
welcome. So that's a great introduction to our first question, where we're talking about foundational origins. So we'd like to ask first, how has Northwell's original mission or vision evolved over time?
Well, interestingly enough, our mission hasn't changed over time, really. If you look back at the history of Northwell, we're made up of almost 21 hospitals, some of them community hospitals, some of them specialty hospitals, some of them are the more tertiary academic hospitals. The oldest hospital in our health system was founded in 1857. That's Lenox Hill Hospital. And it was founded by community members who were primarily German immigrants who came in here in the late 1840s, early 1850s. They settled on the Lower East Side of New York City in an area that came known as Kleinsche Deutschland, Little Germany. That's how many immigrants were there, and that was the second largest wave of immigration. So as that community developed, got stronger, got wealthier, the more fortunate people in that community looked around and said to the less fortunate, we need to provide things for this community. We had social services, we needed to provide health care, and they opened up what we would call an ambulatory care center. At the time they called it infirmary or a clinic. As that community developed, and as healthcare evolved, their mission was to take care of their neighbors, to improve the health of the community that they serve, and they serve the German community. So if you think about our hospitals, you understand each of those communities found their hospitals in response to a problem, an issue. So if you take a look at our mission now, it's made up of community hospitals that have a common focus, common mission. Everybody expressed it a little differently, but the essence of it still exists today. We exist, Northwell exists, to improve the health of our patients and the communities we serve. We do that with world-class quality care, excellent service, research and education. We've added those as we've evolved as an organization. But that core, improving the health of the community we serve, and taking care of not only people, but communities. And that's the essence of our mission. Hasn't really changed.
Right.
The United States experienced an extraordinary growth in the cost of health care. And there was, if you're a history of health planning, repeated attempts to essentially rein in the growth of those things. Through the 1970s, we started regulations, the certificate of need, controlling costs, and sometimes we froze prices. And in the late 1980s, there was the evolution of managed care, where the responsibility for kind of gatekeeping was shifting from clinicians into the insurance companies, and that caused enormous problems. So another thing they were doing is they were negotiating prices. We deregulated healthcare. Healthcare in New York State used to be regulated, and they used to set prices. We never negotiated with insurance companies. In the 1980s, a program called NIFRM, but we deregulated those relationships for commercially insured patients. And we were free now to negotiate with insurance companies, but insurance companies were free to negotiate with us as well.
Right.
So what happened is they started picking off hospitals, say, well, I'm going to give you this, and I need you, but I don't need you. And it caused a destabilization in the healthcare industry where these communities that supported their hospitals, they couldn't get fair prices from insurance companies. North Shore was the first hospital in New York State to kind of take a playbook out of what was happening in California, and they said, we're going to get together with other hospitals for 3 reasons. And the first hospital that actually came together as part of the system was Glen Cove Hospital and North Shore in 1992. And there were 3 objectives. One was to share best practices. Maybe you're doing something better than we're doing. Maybe, the second was to achieve scale. Pooling all of your purchasing, you can get better prices. And the third was to negotiate prices with insurance companies. And by between 1992 and 1996, when the North Shore Health System was formed, Plainview Hospital joined, Syosset, Forest Hills, Valley Stream, which was known as Franklin Hospital, Staten Island Hospital joined. Now, North Shore and LIJ were bitter enemies. I mean, you couldn't be seen, you couldn't be on the medical staff of both hospitals, you couldn't even be seen having coffee with the administration there. It was crazy, And both institutions started dating and developing agreements to merge in with hospitals in New York City. LIJ with Beth Israel, North Shore was talking to both NYU and New York Hospital, and what they both decided is they didn't care about our communities and the history of our hospitals and kind of strengthening them. They just expected everybody would be sent into New York City. That's not something we wanted to do.
Right.
So they turned to each other once they realized nobody cares about our community, and they decided to sit down and see if we can get together. Now, we got an agreement between the 2 institutions. The government felt that that was a problem from an antitrust point of view. We had a federal trial, and the judge made a ruling in October of 1997. Not only is the federal government wrong, I think these 2 institutions would go and create something very special, very important, and it would be in the interests and pro-competitive to the communities that they have historically served. And that's how kind of what we call the big merger occurred.
Right.
So it was.
And you were there for the conversation.
I was in the room.
Right,
so was Michael.
Right.
It was a historic day.
I would feel the next large monumental moment was when Long Island Jewish became Northwell, in the rebranding of the name.
Yeah, that was in 16, 17
Yes.
when we you have to invite Ramon Soto, our chief marketing officer, to talk to you and to show you all the different crazy names we came up with.
Right.
Simply, the name, for people who don't understand, the origins of it is, it's a nod to the historic, basis of North Shore LIJ Health System,
Right.
taking the North. And we used to have a tagline, "Look North," like True North, so as kind of a guiding North Star.
Yes.
That's the focus on the future. And the concept of we were moving away from an organization that was attracting illness only to one that needed to radiate health. And we chose wellness.
Yeah.
So it wasn't going to be North Wellness, but we took Northwell. And that had a tremendous way to unify, I think, our organization.
So kind of going back to our mission and how our original community hospitals had that similar core mission. Our first merger, like you said, was with Glen Cove. When we make the big decision to have these mergers and merge with other hospitals, maybe existing systems, is mission something we're looking to have in common, or are we bringing the Northwell mission to these hospitals?
I would say I worked, along with my colleagues with Mark in finance and legal and marketing, on almost every affiliation relationship. these things take years to develop. Even the one with Nuvance, the conversation started back in 2014, 2015. And they don't go anywhere unless there is an understanding that we share a common mission and a philosophy. The thing that makes that work to a great deal is something Northwell perfected, defined, and we are the example of this concept of systemness. That is underlying all of our successes. I mean, and it's about the people here and everything, but a culture of systemness. Systemness, if I was to describe the attributes of systemness, one, it's mission. You gotta be aligned, you're there to serve the community, you're there to improve the health, and you have a philosophy that says, I have to do better tomorrow than I did the day before. Complacency is a killer for us. To think that we're that good and we can't get better. You can always get better. Technology improves, medical knowledge, research, education. It's one of the reasons we do that. And we have to have a culture here of people that are focused on that mission. We're collaborative and team-based. It's critical. We look at this broad geography that we have a lot of assets, right? You know, all these ambulatory care sites, 5,000 doctors, 12,000 members of our medical staff. And we have this concept of clinical integration that covers the entire geography. So, you know, the head of a service line may not be responsible on a P&L basis for everything that goes on, but they're responsible for basically creating that single standard of care, of helping to recruit people that are similar to the mission, and that we have an engaged workforce, because the number one correlate of a satisfied patient is a satisfied workforce, and we understand the social responsibility, and the wrapper around this is a unified management system that is, we're clinically led and professionally managed, and we have a single governance. We have advisory boards at every one of our hospitals and activities, but the Northwell Board of Trustees are the board members of every entity that's in the hospital, in our health system.
Right, which allows alignment throughout the entire system.
Yeah.
And that's translational, I think, throughout the system, is having a stable leadership team, not only at the very top, but at your individual sites, and making sure they're all aligned.
I mean, alignment is hard.
Yeah.
You know,
yes.
Stability is good. But the flip side of stability, when you don't want to have a homogeneous, everybody thinking the same way. You want people to innovate.
Right.
You need to refresh the blood, so to speak. But the reality here is people, as you probably have observed, I just told you I'm finishing my 30th year here. You really like working here. So
and that's what I was going to mention
too. How do we create opportunity? Growth.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And growth is really what's fueling our future. If you don't continue to grow and evolve and build the business and improve it and enter new businesses, we're not going to keep up the kind of preeminent role that we've enjoyed thus far.
Agreed. I think, and a compliment to Northwell, is the first week that you start at onboarding or beginnings is you have this culture of care presentation, which talks about, I'll remember this forever, the ripple effect.
Yes.
Like how you communicate with others and it takes them 1% each day and it's monumental in the future.
Yeah.
Which I will remember that, and I think going to why people are for lifers here, it's because of that culture of care in the community that's always growing, that is open to growth, and especially how technologically savvy we were becoming. It's that possibility to always achieve.
And think about alignment. Think about, and this is we're the only health system, very few in the country, I can't think of another, where the first day of work, you meet the CEO of that health system for 2 hours.
Right.
And it's a wonderful, kind of welcome to Northwell. Totally. And think about the thousands of hours Mike Dowling puts in just getting people aligned to understand why we're here and what we're trying to do.
Right.
It's a culture like no other.
So can you maybe elaborate or share some examples of how Northwell has innovated to stay ahead of the industry trends? I know
Yeah.
right now we're in a massive rollout, or we will be, and integrating Epic into our health system. And how do you think that's going to impact the efficiency and quality of care?
Look, you can't do what we do without having good data. It's just impossible. And in the environment, in delivering high-quality care, it requires a high degree of coordination and communication between providers, and for us to also know to meet the needs of our patients through digital transformation. So if you think about your information systems and the technology, one of the things that has held us back from making more progress and innovating in certain areas has the fact that we've tolerated, up until now, multiple platforms or systems as we've acquired new facilities. So I think Epic, which, you know, the majority of health providers in this country are on that platform, is going to provide us with new insights and opportunity on how we manage, deliver care. And I believe the interface with the consumer that permits us to have a kind of a uniformed health information exchange and to put information in the hands of consumers, their data, their information, their health care, it's going to provide tremendous innovation. And when you tie in that basic platform that we need to document care, to get billing and all of that, and you look at the future of AI, the tools that will evolve, that'll be AI-enabled tools, will probably allow us to even reach new heights of quality of care. AI is not replacing the compassion, the personal touch.
Right.
Remember, it's complementary and augmentative to clinical decision-making. But it's to make it more precise, it's to help us reduce the variability of delivering that care, and to holding the promise of a single standard of care. And no matter where you walk into our health system, we know who you are. Northwell is a vehicle has a social obligation, and it's a vehicle of social change. Look at what we're doing with gun violence, food insecurity, human trafficking. That's the culture. Just to tie it back to where your first question was, we're coming back to the historic mission of our hospitals. When healthcare in the 1800s, we didn't have that much medicine, penicillin and stuff like that. They were social service agencies. We are rediscovering and moving downstream of medicine with community health, Deb Salas-Lopez and her team, we are rediscovering and re-embracing our social service origins of those founding hospitals.
Wow.
Well, and this also shows, look at, there's this investment in young leaders, the HMP program, the MAP fellowship program that we're in, and that shows just this trickle-down effect that, A, culture of care, and B, that we want to invest in our community outside, both clinical and non-clinical, and see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
So let me tell you a little footnote of history that people should know. Michael Dowling, appointed CEO in January of 2002. On January 17th, he makes his first speech, and Michael lays out his vision for the health system, and he says it's built around one major objective: investing in our people. And he laid out the strategy for what we now know as Center for Learning and Innovation. Our first strategic plan wasn't about building cardiology and cancer. That came. It was, how do you create a great organization? And you create a great organization by investing in your people, having a pipeline of leadership that understand that. And so much of everything we've accomplished comes back to that first speech.
Now it's cornerstone. Now it's evolved even more.
It is a touchstone. It is the core of our philosophy, and it's the thing that really differentiates us from other health systems. Competitive advantage.
Yeah. And the Bergs as well.
Yeah. But all of those things grew out of the understanding, if you hire and recruit the best people that share the mission, share your philosophy, understand and embrace your culture, you can do great things. You can innovate, you can take any challenge, and you just have to keep investing in people.
Especially when you're such a widespread system like this, you know,
Yes.
it can't just be done from 2000 or
Well-
from that original
well-
governance. Like, you need people.
Yeah, I mean, look how we're
Throughout.
evolving, and we'll evolve each more. You know, you have to take a look at your organizational structure every once in a while and evolve it to see what your strategic objectives are. So you saw
Yeah.
a couple of years back, you know, we were very focused on service lines. Then we started creating regions. Now, those regions, if you take a look at what's in them today, their markets, each region would be a large health system in America.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the billions of dollars, the number of
Right.
hospitals, the ambulatory care stuff. So as we are growing, we're going to have to evolve even that structure. You cannot centralize that. And when you centrally control everything, you dampen innovation and that spirit of curiosity. You know,
Yeah.
we want to. That's what fuels our health system. So we were very careful. You'll continue to see it evolving, and our businesses are growing bigger, and it's so cool.
It really is.
You know, Michael gets asked at orientation, what is Northwell going to do for me
You can do
to
anything.
help me succeed? And Michael's answer is the same. He goes, listen up. I get asked this question a lot. He goes, absolutely nothing. We are going to do absolutely nothing. We're going to give you the opportunity to succeed.
Right.
We're going to give you the opportunity to learn, to develop new
handing it
skills.
to you.
So stay curious, be inquisitive, and try to do better tomorrow than you did the day before. And that's kind
Yeah.
of the secret sauce. If we get people
That's
that do
good.
it, we are unstoppable.
Yeah,
Lot
thank
of
you
fun.
so much. I'm really
Thank you.
excited.
It's great meeting you guys.
Nice to meet
Take
you
care.
too.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.
Take care.